What's up, everybody? Welcome into Around the Felt. We're on episode number 3 of season 2, and we are in a different spot. We're together for once. It's been a while since the last time we were together, I believe. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been since the season ended, since the Super Bowl. Back in the studio. Feels good to be back. It's a little hot in here, but, you know.
Hey, man.
It's good to be back.
Can't put AC in a garage. Can't do it. You can put AC when we're on the old Zoom or the StreamYard, but we're in a garage, and for those of you construction guys out there that just understand what it's like to be a blue-collar man in this world, you can put the insulation in the garage, but this one's not insulated. There's no AC, so we're either sweating or freezing. But
yeah, it says blue collars around the Felt Cats.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, Reagan, you want to dive into some news? A lot of extensions have gone down since we last did a pod. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Tua, 4 years, $212 million. Are the Dolphins going to regret this one? I think only if Tua gets hurt, something up top to the head, they will regret this. He almost seems like the perfect quarterback for their system. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of look at it is, it's just like, it's a good contract, but I mean, the guy's one concussion away from having applesauce brains, and I hate to say it, but
oh my god,
I mean, it's
a crazy way to put it.
He's
brother.
just been concussed so many freaking times. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's fucked up to say it like that, but the guy's been concussed so many times where it's a risky contract. I mean, it would be like giving a guy a big contract that's torn his ACL twice or has had multiple like lower ligament injuries. I mean, the head injury, something that it's so like understudied and we still don't know enough about. Like, I'm not a science guy or whatever you want to call it, or
a
whatever.
doctor, probably.
Doctor. I ain't no doctor, but I know that it's like, I think I saw it's like 40 or 50% of the brain has been discovered. There's still like half the brain they don't even know about, so it's so complex and stuff that you never know. But I mean, you could say that for any player. One concussion could knock him out. It's just like, obviously his risk is very higher, and every time he gets concussed, I mean, the timeline for him being out is just going to be longer and longer.
Yeah, I am happy for him, though, because it was a scary scene when he had that concussion. I believe it was in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And, you know, to get rewarded like this and get some security, good for you, Tua. But right after that, Jordan Love tops Tua's deal. 4 for $220, the highest paid player in NFL history. All it takes is one good season, huh? And you're the highest paid player in NFL history?
I mean,
you got to beat the Cowboys once in the playoffs, the team that always loses, and there you go.
Yeah, that one was interesting. I mean, I get you obviously had to pay him, and I think he proved enough that you want to pay him. It's just such a weird situation that, like, a guy like C.J. Stroud had, like, identical number. Well, I mean, obviously he played more, but, like, you could point to that and be like, all right, C.J. Stroud, pay him now. But it's just, you know, letting him sit for that long, obviously you had to make the decision, and he proved enough that you have to pay him. So top dollar, I don't know, but it's so dicey.
They had to pay him. I mean, at the end of the day, every year the record's going to get broken. Yeah. As a new elite quarterback hits the market. It's just the nature of the business. But for Jordan Love to get that much money, I was not 55 a year. I was not expecting that.
Probably the biggest contract ever for that amount of games played.
Oh my God!
I don't know. I don't think.
Well, it's not. It's the biggest contract in NFL history.
Well, yeah,
so.
Inflation. Yeah, so okay. But in terms of like, if you like take the inflation aspect, if you look at like in the NFL history, like it's probably the biggest contract anyone's got in factoring in inflation. If that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, we could do that. We can do the net present value. We could do some Excel models.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we'll do a little short and just be like around the felt for geeks.
Yeah, we are geeks. The Buccaneers paid a couple of their own. Tristan Wirfs, 5/140 with 88 guaranteed, highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Winfield, 4 years, $84 million, now the highest paid defensive back in the league.
I mean, well-deserved, an All-Pro last year, first-team All-Pro, so
yep.
Gotta pay him.
And Wirfs is also All-Pro caliber player. Mm-hmm. He's the anchor of their offensive line, which we'll get into shortly, is not very good, but yeah, I mean, without Tristan Wirfs, it's a terrible unit, and this Bucs team does not make the playoffs last year. He was instrumental in their Super Bowl win, so very well-deserved for both those guys. We'll see if the Bucs can continue to build around that roster because, you know, they just paid Baker. They just paid Mike Evans.
Yeah, they're paying. Everyone's getting paid.
We'll
get into the re-signs later, but pretty much all their guys got big contracts and re-signed.
Absolutely. DJ Moore, 4 years, 110. All Chicago needed was 1 year to see DJ Moore be a stud with Justin Fields at quarterback, and I'd imagine DJ Moore, I mean, granted, more mouths to feed this year with Romo Dunze and Keenan Allen in the picture, but DJ Moore, man, he deserved this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that they were able to lock him up. I mean, Caleb Williams is just being set up better than any number 1 overall pick's ever been set up before. I mean,
maybe any rookie quarterback, like, seriously.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
going to play right away.
Yeah, no, I mean, freaking coming in and having 3 great wide receivers. I mean, I guess you can't say for certain that Dunze is going to be amazing, or great by any stretch. But you would imagine he'll be good.
Yes.
Plus, Cole Kmet's probably a top 10 tight end, and their line's good. I mean, they've been addressing it the past couple of years. So I don't know, man. He's set up for success, and that defense was really good down the stretch once they got Sweat, and obviously kept Jalen Johnson. So he's set up real well. Watch
Absolutely.
out for the Bears.
Taylor Decker, 3 years, $60 million. The Lions, they still have the second most cap space in the league, and you look around, you're like, how? It's because so many of their star players are on rookie deals.
Yeah.
So eventually it'll catch up to them, but they keep Taylor Decker, who's been a stalwart in that offensive line for several years. They keep him. Huge.
Plus, Goff's like, for the quarterback money, he's not making. I think he's only like $30 million a year. I don't think he's making anything crazy in terms of most of the quarterbacks. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but like you said, and like I know they just paid Amon-Ra, but
Wait.
Rock.
No, Jared Goff signed a 4-year extension up to $212 million with $170 guaranteed.
Oh man.
Yeah, that happened. Right. That happened this offseason.
I'll probably cut that out later, since I'm the one editing tonight. Since Dave's not in tonight, he's out and about. So we have Garrett filling in. We didn't even say that before.
Yeah, Garrett is filling in. What's up, Garrett?
Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
Hey, Garrett.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, you're not gonna cut that part out.
No, I'll leave that in.
No, Jared Goff got paid.
Jared got paid. Garrett got paid to be here.
We're just elite players.
Yeah, we're just elite players.
Elite players.
We know our role.
He's making elite plays with the questions tonight and on the graphics, and Jared Goff does it on the field.
All right, let's get into some more bad news, some injuries. Deontay Foreman taken off in a helicopter today to the hospital.
Crazy.
Does have movement in all extremities, thank the Lord. And hopefully he's good and he's back and ready to roll relatively soon. But scary sight.
Well, plus he obviously came in, I believe, out of Tennessee or was it Texas?
Texas.
Highly recruited and stuff, and got drafted to the Houston Texans. And I think he had like a weird long-term Achilles tear, and he was out for like 2 or 3 years. It took him to even get back, and then it took him a while to get into this good form that we saw with Tennessee for a little bit, and then the Bears last year and the Panthers, so he's had some flashes, so hopefully he's all right because he worked so hard to get back.
Yeah, and he's a quality player. He played pretty well. I mean, he didn't do much last year, but the previous seasons before that, I believe Carolina, he was good in Carolina and the Titans, so hopefully he's back out there. And then, speaking of the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins hurts his knee in practice today, out 4 to 6 weeks. The season is roughly 6 weeks away. Some valuable reps they're missing out on with Will Levis in camp. You brought in Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd, so you still do have some guys. Maybe Treylon Burks can step up. I heard he's looked pretty good out of camp, and by saying I heard it, it's on Titans Twitter. But you can never believe that. But opportunity for Burks to maybe get in the rotation a little bit, but still not very good for this Titans offense.
Yeah, no, it's not a good look. Hopefully he's back for week 1, but now that definitely puts that in jeopardy. Because think about it. We are at August 1st. Believe it or not, while you're listening to it, August 2nd. Maybe the 3rd. But, obviously that 4 to 6 week timeline puts his week 1 status in jeopardy. You won't see him at all in the preseason. Not that we would have saw much of him anyway. But and then I just want to say something. 2 fantasy goats, 2 fantasy legends, Tarik Cohen and Rashard Penny retired. Actually, funny thing about Rashard Penny, I think he ended up retiring with the most yards per carry or something like that. It was some weird stat.
I believe it.
Because he was just such a low volume guy, and then with Seattle, that one fantasy playoffs where he won people championships because he went on a tear of 500 yards in a 3-game span or some shit like that.
No, yeah, he would get in the game, go nuclear for a couple weeks, and then get hurt.
Yeah, so both guys, some fantasy legends right there that we just said goodbye to. So it'll be some Jeopardy questions 10 years from now. So don't.
5.6 yards
yeah,
per carry.
5.6 yards.
I knew it was gonna be over 5.
So
that's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that's the high. There was a minimum number, but that's the highest I saw the other day. Past it was either LT or
the highest of any running back in history with at least 300 carries.
That's what it was. Perfect. Thank you for fact checking.
300 carries.
So
wow.
Think about that. So we just lost the best running back of all time via retirement. So,
but all right, that wraps up the news. Big G. Ready to roll with questions?
I am ready.
That's so freaking crazy.
That is crazy. But then again, you think back in the day, running backs were getting 300 carries a year.
Yeah, still. He was worth every penny. Make sure you talk loud because the mics we're using the mics that we normally use, so haven't been in the studio in a while, but shout.
Yeah, say it with your chest, G.
Thank you for letting me fill in for Jock. I appreciate it. Those are big shoes to fill in, but hopefully we get it right. All right, we're going to start off with Mad Max, Colin's friend.
Yeah, Hafe.
Shout out.
Mad Max.
All right, his first question, he wants to know what the snap percentage will look like between Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier.
Well,
an argument you guys have had on the show plenty of times.
Several times. So I believe I saw at a camp that Allgeier is still going to be a big part of this offense, and he's going to spell Bijan and this and that. So the snap percentage, I'd probably go 55 to 60 Bijan.
wow, I thought you were going to turn into the Hawk Tua girl for a second towards Bijan. That's crazy. All right, I respect that.
I think 60-40 is fair.
Yeah, no, I would say more 70-30 Bijan, but I thought you were for sure going to be
70?
like...
No, 70's like,
I thought you were gonna
there's very few running backs that play over 70% of team snaps. And that's with teams like, like Barkley did that for the Giants. Teams with really not another viable option, there's a large drop-off. So I think it's definitely in the 60% range.
Yeah, no, I gave you respect. I thought you were about to Hawk Tua big time on Bijan, so I respect you for that. But, yeah, I guess no argument on this one, yeah. But I do think Allgeier is a guy you want to stash because obviously if Bijan is to miss any time.
I love that handcuff.
But also, I mean, I think in bye week pinches and even other weeks you could be a flex too. I mean, best ball, I'm definitely going to target him just because I think like we saw last year, there were random weeks where Bijan was still getting way more touches, but Allgeier would get the goal line work, and it was like, oh shit, like Tyler Allgeier only had like 8 touches, but he just got me 13, 14 fantasy points. So definitely got to target late in best ball drafts if you do play that style.
All right, G, what's next?
All right, next question. Max wants you guys to rank the 4 quarterbacks from this division.
Rank the 4 quarterbacks. I think Kirk Cousins is number 1 if he's healthy. If he's healthy.
Yeah, now Kirk Cousins is 1.
If he's healthy. Then it's like
I'm going
Bryce
Carr.
Young's clearly the worst. So then you want to go Carr or Baker?
I'm going Carr over Baker.
I would go Carr over Baker as well. I'd love to argue with you, but I can't argue that one.
I also think Carr's stats are very misleading, but the dude was injured all year last year, and like, you know what? I'll throw out one of my best points about Carr, even though I'm not like, it was a dog shit year for the team, but I mean, down the stretch, the last 5 games, he had 14 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and he only threw 25 touchdowns on the year. So, I mean, most of his good production came in the last 5 games, and I don't know, man. It's not like he had a great O-line, and the guy was playing, I think, with like a broken rib all season. I actually am shocked he played 17 games.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. And also, like, Carr's been an MVP candidate before. Like, Baker, that was his best year and still wasn't even MVP level.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just keep
All
rolling.
right, next question is a fantasy question from Max. He says, who will emerge as the wide receiver 2 behind Drake London, not counting Kyle Pitts?
Interesting.
Man.
Well, you would think Mooney because of the money.
You think Mooney because Mooney was actually solid in Chicago. He just never had an accurate quarterback in his career. Rondale Moore is just an injury waiting to happen.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Darnell Mooney, even though I like Rondale Moore's game a lot and he's a fun gadget player. He just has never been able to stay healthy.
Hey, don't count out Kadarius Hodges either, man. They re-signed him.
Yeah, potentially.
But no, yeah, I would go with Mooney. But I mean, hey,
I think Mooney's the guy to have there.
You never know. Mooney could be the number 1. Don't count it out. Don't count it out.
Get out of here, dude. Drake
I
London's
don't know,
that
man.
guy. Drake
We'll
London's
see.
that guy.
He's that guy? Okay.
We got next, G.
His next question is, are you buying the Mason Tipton training camp hype, the 5'9" wide receiver out of Yale? I don't know if you guys are plugged in with the Saints, but
I'm not on Saints Twitter.
Balling out of camp, undrafted.
Yeah, but you hear this all the time. Like, they're talking about Jalen McMillan for the Bucks. Even though I like McMillan as a player, he got picked for a reason, and they're like, oh, he's an absolute stud. Like, you hear all this all the time. These guys are absolute studs, and they barely crack the lineup. I'm not buying the hype.
It's definitely interesting to keep an eye on. I mean, if you're in a dynasty league, if you're hearing all this buzz and stuff and you have taxi spots, I mean, what's the worst case? You fucking amounts to nothing. Just throw him on your taxi spot. Let him sit there. Hey, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Puka Nacua, but he could be something valuable. And, I mean, if you look at the Saints roster right now, I mean, Mike Thomas is gone. Olave's like the shoe-in number 1. You would imagine Shaheed's 2. But
yeah, Shaheed will be 2.
It looks like A.T. Perry's set to be number 3. But, I mean, there's definitely the opportunity there. And, I mean, obviously Sean Payton's not there, but Dennis Allen obviously still utilizes Taysom Hill, so and they seem to like their gadget type players over there. So I think there could be a role. I mean, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I know Colin just filled me in that you do a lot of stuff and do a lot of filming with the NFL. So film watching, so I'm imagining you probably already watched the tape on this guy, and you must be interested. So
Yeah, send me the scouting report, Dave.
I might go look more into it and pick him up in Dynasty, or maybe target him in the last round of a best ball draft. It may have convinced me.
I saw on Sleeper, he was like the top trending guy.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, okay.
He's moving up there. The media's got him going. All right, the next question. Him and Jared both wrote the same question, so shout out you guys.
Wow.
Jared,
great minds think alike.
I guess so.
Jared Allen Crampton or
They
Jared
both
Allen
wrote
Tong.
Start bench cut. Drake London, Mike Evans, Chris Olave.
That's crazy that they both have the same question.
I know.
It was Mike Evans, Chris Olave, and who?
Drake London.
And Drake London. Oh, that's easy for me. I'm going to keep Mike Evans. I'm going to trade Chris Olave, and I'm going to cut Drake London. Drake London hasn't done enough for me to believe in it, and so I'm not going to just be like, oh, Kirk Cousins is going to change everything. All right, let's not act like Drake London's going to turn into prime Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, but
First off,
Arthur Smith is no longer there, and that guy sucks.
that's fair, but I'm not going to trade away the guy that's a shoo-in for 1,000 yards. I mean, we've never not seen him get over 1,000 yards. I mean, the guy's a big play.
I know. He has 1,000-yard lock.
So Mike Evans goes right in there, and it's like, all right, who's done more so far in their career? Okay, Chris Olave.
Olave, yeah.
Has either had like amazing quarterback play? No, both have gone through, I think, 3 or 4 quarterbacks already. So I'll go with Olave, the guy that's been more productive, and I think is just, better. We'll see. I mean, time will tell. I mean, there's still a lot of time, but that for me, that was pretty easy. I don't know about for you.
People forget that Drake London got drafted over Chris Olave.
No, I didn't forget.
By 3 slots.
And Garrett Wilson as well, by 2 slots. We
Hmm.
don't forget. We got the best guy out of all of them.
I hate the Saints offense so much. But the reality is there's more mouths to feed in Atlanta's offense at this point. You can't cut Mike Evans. He stole 1,200 yards last year and 13 touchdowns. 10 straight seasons of 1,000. You got to start, Mike. I'm going to keep bench London. And I'm going to cut Olave for this year. Not what they've done for this year. Even though there are more mouths to feed, I believe in the Atlanta offense. I believe in Kirk Cousins. And if it's Michael Penix, I believe in Michael Penix. Drake London's that guy.
I don't know how you can believe in Michael Penix, but okay.
I don't like Derek Carr at all.
All right, let's move on. Another Saints question here, parlaying into that. Two-parter. How much juice do you think Alvin Kamara has left in the tank?
Barely. It's running on empty.
And is there a chance Kendre Miller can take over by the end of the season?
Whose question
Kendre
is this?
Miller?
Max.
Oh, Max, okay.
No, Kendre Miller is in trouble. His coach is calling him out because he can't get on the field, which, I mean, honestly, calling out a second-year running back because he had, I believe it was a knee injury, and then he came back and then hurt his ankle, but calling him out saying, oh, you can't get better, you can't get on if you're not healthy, if you're in the training room the whole time. Crazy for a coach to call out a guy like that, so maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. Alvin Kamara had probably his worst season of his career last year. Didn't have a run longer than 17 yards. His yards per carry was awful. His yards after contact was awful. I don't believe in Alvin Kamara anymore. He's entering his age 29 season. If you have him in fantasy, I would get rid of him. His only value really is in the receiving game, but he's better served in fantasy than real football. Like for sure, not even debatable. He's just not that guy anymore.
He's an RB2 for fantasy. I mean, I'd still be drafting him in redraft leagues. Dynasty, I would keep him and then trade him midseason after a couple good weeks. He's still probably going to get close to 100 catches this year. Derek Carr's going to be a check down Charlie all year like we saw last year. But I don't expect him to be efficient on the ground. I mean, I'm big on Kendre Miller. I mean, I've been trying to stash him everywhere I can and trade for him wherever I can. I mean, the guy was a stud at TCU, but obviously college is way different than the NFL. But I've been trying to get him everywhere. I mean, you could honestly use that quote to try to go get him. I mean, I still believe in the talent, and I do think Alvin Kamara is coming to the end. And if the Saints are not in playoff contention or struggling by the deadline, I mean, I think he's a guy that could get shipped to a contender at the deadline. So
Kamara?
Yeah. I mean, I know his contract's big, but
yeah, I mean, he had 75 catches last year in 13 games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a guy that's going to push 100 catches.
But he hasn't played a full season. I mean, he misses a couple games every year.
I mean,
not a lot.
I also think some of it has to do with the line. The offensive line play was terrible last year.
Yeah, it was not good.
And it's not like when Jamal Williams came in or Kendre Miller that they were just able to run the ball. I mean, it was terrible line play. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's fully cooked. I mean, I'm definitely not optimistic that things will get better. I mean, they obviously had drafted Fuaga in the draft, but there's still a lot of holes on this offensive line. So Be interesting. But what do we got next?
All right, let's go to another running back question. This one's coming from Jared. Shout out to you, Jared.
Hey, shout out Jerry.
This one's going down to Tampa Bay. Is Rashad White doomed for a massive regression? He was not great last year. But he was second in the league in touches behind CMC.
Yeah.
Yes. So the thing with Rashad White, he's better fantasy back than a real back. All of his rushing metrics rank towards the bottom of the league, like almost every single one. But the pure volume with a lack of another back in that offense, paired with the amount of checkdowns that Baker threw to him, they weren't like behind the line of scrimmage either. Like he did have like a pretty good average depth of target, like past the line. From a fantasy perspective, if Rashad White's your RB2, you're fine. From a real football perspective, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Bucs, I don't know if people realize this, they were the lowest in yards per carry last year at 3.4. So
Yep.
I do a little bit of research, finally starting to...
Yeah, let's go, bud.
I saw that and I was
Let's
like,
go,
damn.
bud.
But I actually sold my White stock in all my dynasty leagues. I'm not targeting him in best ball. I'm a little worried about Bucky Irving, the guy they got from Oregon this year. I don't think he'll get as much volume, and if he's not getting the volume, he's not going to be good. It was pure volume and
What do you have, 340 touches last
he had
year?
a crap ton of targets and touches, and I know he got a decent amount of touchdowns, but I don't know, man. He's just not efficient doing it. He's a guy I'd be selling, and I believe he was on the older side already, so he's a guy I'm definitely trying to sell. Definitely, if you have him in Dynasty, sell high on last year. I don't think you're going to get nearly the same production. I think he's going to be more like an RB2, not finishing as a top 5 fantasy running back like he did last year. So... what do you got next?
All right, big question coming in. Jared wants the boys to call their shot. Who leads the league in kickoff return touchdowns this season?
Oh. Oh, shit, dude. That's
It's
just
a new
like...
rule. You never know.
So is he
like
saying...
running backs back there now? Like,
is he asking what team or...
He wants...
Or like
what player?
Wants a player, probably.
I didn't know the depth charts. They're still working
You
on
don't
it.
even know
They're still
who's
working
returning.
on it in camp. I don't even know who's returning.
Take your shot.
I didn't have time to prepare for this.
All
We're
right,
talking about
I'll take-
the NFC South.
I'll take my shot on the All-Pro from the Saints. Rashid Shaheed got in last year as a return specialist, so I'll take him.
That's a good pick.
I'll give you one. Darius Toney or whoever returning on the Chiefs will, because they have so many speedsters. One of them is going to end up returning kicks.
Who's going to let up a lot of points that also has a fast guy they're going to throw
What
back
about the
there?
Ravens guy that you liked from Oak State?
Tylan Wallace?
Yeah.
I like Tylan Wallace. I just don't think teams are going to score that much in Baltimore, that he's going to lead the league in it. But I do like Tylan Wallace.
What about on the Panthers?
Yeah,
All right.
I didn't even know in the Panthers.
All
were
right,
gonna do
man. Give me one. Give me a speedster on the Giants, man. Those guys are gonna be bleeding points.
that. Yeah, I don't even know his return for the Giants.
Oh man,
All right,
give me that guy Malik Neighbors. Giants gonna be bleeding points. He's gonna get all of his touchdowns in the return game.
Yeah,
this
you've
year.
been seeing those Twitter videos, huh? He's fucking good.
This might be the first punishment idea of the season 2. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
All right, Jared's big idea is loser of the challenge has to do a speed run of golf. His idea: you have to sprint everywhere on the course, and you have to carry everything in your hand. So basically, he wants you guys to, I guess, race on who could finish first.
You want us to do a fucking
Speed
workout?
running the golf course.
What, are we going to rent the course out for ourselves?
That would actually be hilarious. We'd have to get like the earliest.
We'd have to get a 7 a.m. tee time.
Hauling ass and
Just with our bags, just hit the ball. I mean, I'd clearly win because you can't hit the ball.
we're not racing each other. I think it would just be the loser has to just get the other guy would just film him just sprinting around playing around the golf.
Just riding around in the
and
cart.
Just fucking haul ass. Yeah, you would just be in the golf cart filming, and the other guy would be just sprinting it. Actually, yeah, I love
Probably
that.
have to put a time limit on it, and you'd have to finish like under that time and still have like
An hour.
a certain score, so you're not just hitting the ball 1,000 times.
I mean,
That's a crazy idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we still got to do some punishments for this year. We'll definitely. Maybe we could do some. We're going down the shore this week, so if you guys are down in LBI this weekend, use hashtag around the felt to meet up with the crew at Bird and Betty's this weekend. But yeah, no.
What's
I mean,
next?
We do got to do some punishments still. Maybe I'll down 12 hot dogs this weekend.
Write in your punishments if you got any good ones.
Yeah,
next?
we got to do that.
All right. Next question. First time question asker from my boy, Nick Ritchell. Shout out you, Nick.
Shout out, Nick.
Shout out you, Nick.
Kutztown Lambda Chi, baby.
Kutztown
All right,
Lambda Chi.
He wants to know, what's the plan for the Falcons regarding Michael Penix Jr. and Kirko Cousins?
They're following the Green Bay model. Ideally for them, Michael Penix doesn't play till year 3 or 4 because that means Kirk Cousins recovered from his Achilles. and they're winning ball games. But they were in quarterback purgatory ever since Matt Ryan left. They were like, all right, let's not just get one quarterback, let's get two and try to solve this problem like Green Bay did for decades. So that's their game plan. If Kirk Cousins doesn't come back from the Achilles well, if he gets hurt again, well, you just took a guy in the top 10 that's going to play and is your long-term answer. So I think that's their plan.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to debate there. I think that's the exact plan.
Yep.
I mean, he's only going to play now if Kirk Cousins is still injured. I mean, I guess there's the off chance that, like, maybe he just sucks now, but
I mean, Kirk Cousins is no bomb, dude. He's going to be the guy. They paid him a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Fantasy question. Is Bryce Young even a backup pickup for quarterbacks this year in fantasy?
Yeah. I won one of my leagues last year because I spot started him against, who was it? Might have been Washington. And I was like, this is just a great spot. It was the only game all year he put up over 20, but I got to the finals because of it, and then I won the league. So this year, much better supporting cast. New scheme. I don't think he's going to be a QB1 by any stretch, but I'd keep him on the bench. He's just went number one, you know. His stats weren't good. Every metric was terrible. He wasn't accurate, but he can improve. So I would keep him as a QB2, and that's the only, like, you get a guy like, I mean, if you get quarterbacks like 10 through 12 and you really wait on the position, I wouldn't rely on him as your QB2. But if you get like one of the top 5 or 6 guys, I'd be fine with it.
No, I'm excited, man. We'll get into it a little bit later, but the amount of money and work they put into that offense. I mean, they went out and got him 2 guards. They drafted a tight end. They drafted a running back. They traded for Deontay Johnson. They drafted a wide receiver. I mean, they went out there and really addressed the offense. And obviously, they went out and got Dave Canales as a head coach. And we saw what he did for Baker Mayfield last year. He had his
and Geno
best
Smith
season
the year before.
Yeah, and freaking both guys had their best season ever. Both guys looked cooked. And I think Bryce Young's way more talented than both of those guys. So I'm very excited. I think he actually could be a top 12 fantasy guy. I mean, that's really fucking hot take, but
that's
definitely
an
worth.
insanely hot take,
Definitely
bro.
worth it.
That is, dude. That's like probably
Bing!
plus 5,000 for Bryce Young to finish a top 12 quarterback.
I mean,
that is extremely spicy.
I don't know, man. I'm really buying into it, man. I'm buying into it.
Rachel also wants to know if you guys will be taking the Kyle Pitts Kool-Aid this year.
Absolutely. Go Gators. Go Gators.
My boy.
If this ain't the year, they will never be it for Kyle Pitts. He's just too talented. With Kirk Cousins, this has got to be the year.
Yeah, I will say for my co-host, he's not taking the Kyle Pitts Kool-Aid. He's taking the Falcons Kool-Aid. I mean, it's, offer him a cup of Drake London, he'll drink it. Offer him a cup of freaking Kyle Pitts, he'll drink it. Michael Penix, apparently he's drinking that too. I mean, Buddy's Hawk-Tuin all over the freaking Falcons right now. It's crazy. He's drinking the Kool-Aid. But I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, but I'm also not going to dump it out if you hand it to me. I'm going to sit there, like, waft it a little bit, get a nice smell of it, maybe take a sip. I'm not going to chug it or anything. I think he'll probably be a startable fantasy tight end. I don't think where he's getting drafted. Like, I don't know. There's just other guys. Like, I'd rather a Trey McBride, Laporta. I mean, I'd rather.
I wouldn't take him over Laporta.
No, I know, but I'm saying for the value. Like, I'd rather like reach up and get those guys. Or
I'm taking Kyle Pitts over Njoku for sure.
I don't know.
If you look at Njoku's splits with Flacco and with Watson, he was way worse. It was Joe Flacco that got Njoku there.
Yeah,
and don't buy into what he did late in last season and overdraft Njoku. I'm taking Pitts because he's ascending. Njoku's going to.
All right, now that I got your attention, this isn't part of the podcast. This is a little spiel, so let me tell you about it. We're selling golf polos. For those of you who came to the golf outing, you probably saw them. We got a nice Carolina blue, and then we got a white one as well. Or maybe you saw some of the pictures on the Instagram that Caleb and his girl Raina were nice enough to take. But anyway, we're going to be selling them. You can either buy 1 for $40 or 2 for $70. Yeah, we're nice guys. We ain't that greedy. We'll give you a bundle deal. So if you're interested, hit one of us up in the Around the Foul crew or go to the link in our bio, put your order form in. We're going to be ordering them very soon, so you're going to want to get one of these if you want to look sharp on the golf course. Because I know me, my game's great, but when I want to be even better, I want to look great on the course. So buy one today. Thank you. Now let's get back to the pod.
All right, the boys are back. Let's talk about the worst team in the league last year, the Carolina Panthers. Reagan, their win total this year is set at 4.5 after winning 2 games last year. They won 2 games last year despite not leading in the fourth quarter at any point in any game. Their 2 wins were both field goals as time expired. I saw that stat from Warren Sharp, and I was like, wow. For the entire season, you did not hold lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So 4.5 wins this year, Reagan. Some key losses, Brian Burns, Frankie Louvu. Yatir Gross-Matos, that's a lot of edge rushers. Dante Jackson, Shaq Griffin, Jeremy Chin, C.J. Henderson, all in the secondary.
Yeah.
DJ Chark. You'll notice a lot of losses on the defense there. Key adds, Robert Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Damian Lewis, Jadeveon Clowney, A'Shawn Robinson. A lot of adds on the offensive side. They shifted their spending to support Bryce Young. So, Reagan, with all that said, do the Panthers go over 4.5 wins this year?
They do. I actually have them going 7-10. Still coming
Whoa!
in. Yeah, they're coming in last in the division. Don't worry about that. But I have them going 7-10 this year. I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid that your boy Nick was talking about before, Garrett, about are you drinking the Kyle Pitts Kool-Aid? I'm drinking it a little bit with the Panthers, man.
I'm really craving Kool-Aid now.
Yeah, right? I got it on my mind, but I'm really buying into it. I mean, you don't see teams do the right thing usually, but they're doing all the right things for Bryce Young. I mean, they go out, like you said, they got Robert Hunt to play one of the guards. They got Damian Lewis to play the other guard. Love that. That's protection right there. That's something that was really key, and especially with an undersized quarterback like Bryce Young, like you need guards that can protect him so he has as much time there and it's not collapsing right in front of his face. So huge. Then you go out and get Jonathan Brooks, who's probably the best running back in the draft class. The Miles Sanders thing didn't work out. And then you go and trade for Deontay Johnson, who I think is a very good wide receiver. I mean, you could say what you want, but he's still a wide receiver one. Or you can make the case, hey, maybe Xavier Legette's going to be the wide receiver one. Either way, it's not a bad problem to have two guys that you're debating even as their wide receiver one. Then you go out and you draft, Travion Wallace? No, I'm sorry, not Travion. Jatavion Sanders, the tight end of Texas, Jonathan Brooks' teammate.
Yep.
Another guy, just getting him another weapon there. So with that all said, I mean, you do that. And then you get Dave Canales, who we talked about before, did a ton for both Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. So I'm super excited about the offense. The defense might be a little rough, but, you're getting Jadeveon Clowney off his best season. You kept Shaq Thomas and Derek Brown. You gave them both extensions. So, I mean, I'm excited about that. I mean, yeah, and honestly, their schedule's not bad. I mean, it's the 29th hardest or easiest schedule in the league. I mean, and the defense, I mean, with all of that being said, they weren't bad. I mean, they allowed the fourth least amount of yards last year and third against the pass. I mean, granted, that could be because their offense was never moving the ball, so they always were starting in short field.
And they were playing from behind, so teams were just running the clock out towards the end.
Could be a little bit of that, but either way, I'm excited for all the moves they made this offseason, and I think that their defense will still be decent this year, so that's where I got them going 7-10.
Yeah, I got 4-13. I'm not sold. I'm really not sold at all. Bryce Young, although I do have him in Dynasty, Superflex, I'm not sold. He was really inaccurate last year. The only guy who was more inaccurate were Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Not a group you want to be a part of. Now they're both backups, so that's not ideal. And that was also from a clean pocket, not just him being pressured. I agree with you. Getting the two guards, they paid up big time for Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Huge to protect Bryce Young, given his frame, but still not sold. Adam Thielen, I mean, scorching hot start to the season last year. Mm-hmm. Obviously fell off at the back end, but still a veteran presence. Deontay Johnson's the guy I'm targeting in fantasy in this offense. Yeah. I think he's going to be top 20 based off a pure volume standpoint. I don't think Xavier Legette is going to live up to his draft status. Not going to lie to you. A guy that breaks out his fifth year in college, it takes you that long. 23 years old, playing against, I'm just not sold. He's got good physical tools, but I don't think Legette's going to be that guy. He could be another Jonathan Mingo that kind of just does nothing. But Deontay Johnson's the dude. I really like Jonathan Brooks, but he is recovering from that ACL, so don't know when he's going to be ready. I think eventually he takes over that spot from Chuba Hubbard at some point this season, but I have him stashed in one league, and I'm really excited for that because when the draft capital's there and a running back, that's kind of the guys you want to target is the top of the second round. You know what I mean? That's a really good spot that you want to get your backs. I like that you mentioned Sanders. I think he'll be good. Really, he has no competition to win the job. Was it Tommy Tremble? He's going to win that job, hopefully. Defensively, I mean, Derek Brown's still that dude. Pro Bowler. He was first in run stuffs last year on ESPN's run stop win rate. Stud in the interior, but you lost a lot of edge rushers. You bring in Jadeveon Clowney. Had his career best year last year at 9.5 sacks. Who would have thought that'd be his best number? But, Shaq Thompson's back. He was hurt. J.C. Horn's good, but he's always hurt. They were last in pressure rate and sacks last season, and they lost their two best edge rushers. So I think the defense regresses. I think the offense improves, but not enough. With a rookie head coach, I got 4-13 for the Panthers.
Yeah, man. The more and more I think about it, I kind of like my Bryce Young top 12 fantasy quarterback this year. I think I'm going to take that as my hot pick. I kind of love it. I think I might be targeting him in fantasy. I love the weapons he has right now. I don't mind those at all. I mean, Adam Thielen as your wide receiver 3. I didn't even say that before, but I kind of like that a lot. So, yeah, that's my hot take. Bryce Young will finish as a top 12 fantasy quarterback this year.
Yeah, I think you're nuts, but I love the confidence. Hey, that'd be good for my dynasty team.
Yeah,
maybe I go back to back if Bryce Young does that. But
I'm excited, man.
We'll see. A common theme here, too. When we're going to talk about strength of schedules in this division, this is probably the worst division.
Worst division
in football. So,
schedule.
they all have easy schedule because they play each other so much. So it's going to be a common theme. So based on where they ended last year, obviously could be a big factor. Let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons.
Wait, and I will say, I think I'm going to be putting a little bet on them over 4.5 wins because I didn't realize the total was that low. But,
it is low, 4.5.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about those Atlanta Falcons. And yes, Reagan, I am drinking the Kool-Aid in the Falcons. 9.5 win total. Key losses: Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Desmond Ridder. Really not that key of a loss. He was cheeks. Jonnu Smith, Jeff Okudah. Some key adds: Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore. 9.5 wins, Reagan. They lost 6 games by 1 score last year, by the way. So kind of due for a little bit of regression in that regard. They finished 7-10. They've won 7 games, 3 seasons in a row. Do they make it a 4th year in a row?
No, they don't. They're gonna go 10-7 this year. They're gonna flip the script. Go win 10 games, only lose 7 this year. But I mean, I believe in Kirk Cousins, and also their division's trash. I mean, they have I believe, they have the easiest.
Easiest schedule in the league this year.
I mean, also a big point, something that's not like repeatable or like you don't normally see the trend repeat. They were 30th in the turnover to takeover ratio. They were -12 last year. That's so crazy, I expect that to get better with Kirk Cousins and also Raheem Morris being a defensive coach. I expect the defense to cause more takeaways. So I think something as simple as that will help. Just better ball security on offense and more takeaways on defense will be huge. But I'm bought into Kirk Cousins, and obviously he's got some good weapons. I mean, they've taking Kyle Pitts and Drake London and then Bijan, I mean, that's 3 straight years of investing first-round picks in the skill player guys, and then they go out and sign Mooney. They got Kadarius Hodges back. I mean, even though they lost Cordell and Jonnu, I'm super excited about that. Didn't they get another wide receiver? Who was the other one we were talking about earlier? I thought they got
Rondell Moore.
Oh, yeah, Rondell Moore. So, I mean, they went out and got some stuff, and their O-line's not terrible. I mean,
their offensive line's legit, man.
They still got Jake Matthews.
Ranked 4th by Pro Football Focus last year.
Yeah, and then that's another thing. A lot of those guys were first-round picks as well on the O-line. So they've just really addressed the offense. And I think getting Raheem Morris, a defensive-minded coach there, and just the fact that their division is cheeks, they're going to go 10-7. I think they could be, depending on Kirk's health, they're definitely a team that could be sneaky come playoff time, but I still don't know if they have the roster to really make a Super Bowl appearance push.
Yeah, so I have the Falcons at 11-6.
Wow.
You touched on a lot of things I was going to touch on. I mean, Desmond Ridder was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last year. Bottom of the league in every metric. Inaccurate. Terrible. Kirk Cousins, massive upgrade. Mm-hmm. Zach Robinson running the offense, coming over from the Rams. Huge upgrade over Arthur Smith. So instead of having 2 tight end sets, there's going to be a lot more 3 wide receiver sets. They're going to open it up more. So that's why they added Darnell Mooney. I think a lot of these guys are definitely playable in fantasy. I would stash Mooney, maybe even more. I think Kyle Pitts and Drake London should theoretically have career years, given the drastic shift in quarterback play. I touched on their offensive line. I mean, 4th by Pro Football Focus last year. That's huge for Kirk coming back from Achilles to be behind that. You mentioned easiest schedule projected. Also, Sharp's projecting the easiest schedule of run defenses in the entire league. So that Bijan and Allgeier duo should eat. Bijan had 1,463 yards and 8 touchdowns on only 272 touches last year. So I expect those numbers to go up. Talking about the defense. I mean, this is why everyone was bashing them for taking Michael Penix number 8 overall. They've just been dying for edge rushers for so long. 25th in pressure rate last year. They lost Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree, who were their 2 best sack artists, to be honest with you. And they've had problems getting after the quarterback for so long. That worries me. A.J. Terrell was good bounce-back season last year. He was an All-Pro in 2021, so they need him to return to that form. Actually has not had an interception since his All-Pro year in 2021. They need him to get back there. That's a nice
little wrinkle.
Yeah, right? Jesse Bates, stud. He was an All-Pro last year. I believe he's the highest-rated safety in Madden, if I'm not wrong. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really use Madden as my talking
Well,
points,
I'm not either. He was a first-team All-Pro, so,
no,
you know.
He's good. No, he's good,
No, actually, second-team All-Pro. He had 6 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, stud in the back end. Grady Jarrett's getting up there in age. David Onyemata was solid, but those 2 guys in the interior I'm not worried about. It's more so on the edge.
Yeah.
Arnold Ebidike from Kansas State they drafted a couple years ago, 6 sacks last season, was 3rd on the team. 6.5 from Calais and Dupree. They're not going to get after the quarterback then. You know, they need their defensive backs to hold up, which means A.J. Terrell's got to stay healthy.
They did, and in the draft, I mean, obviously they got the tackle from Clemson, Thorough.
Yeah,
and
Rook.
then
Rook. I mean, he was a little risky. Another guy took till his 5th year to break out, like Leggett. Yeah. So those are always a little risky.
But I mean, that's the 203. I mean, they took him at 34th, so I mean, it's interesting. And then Trice out of Washington, the edge rusher, so if he can, I mean, he's pretty good at Washington, but obviously 3rd-round pick, you never know. It's a lottery pick, and then they took Doris from Oregon. So, I mean,
I like
the next
the guy
3
from Oregon.
picks, they addressed on the D-line, so hopefully at least one of those guys pans out.
Dorlis is on the interior. He ranks, I believe he was top 3 the last 2 years with pressure rate from the interior. So that's a good stat. That translates well. You like guys pushing the pocket. So for getting a guy like that in the 4th round, I like it. The defense worries me, but ultimately, I think the offense is going to be high-powered, and they're going to be in a lot of shootouts.
Why are you playing music, dude?
Yeah, what's going on over there, Garrett?
You hear that?
Yeah, you're the room next door. But
Fuck.
We're good. I'm putting some on our story.
I agree with you, Reagan. I think they're going to win the division here, but I'm worried about them come playoff time if they have to go on the road to an outdoor. Like, if they got to play in Philadelphia, I don't know. If they got to play in San Francisco, I don't know. Yeah. But if they're playing in the Dome, I think they got a good shot to make a run.
Hey, and they still got young Hoku. Dude can kick that thing.
He can kick that thing.
But, I mean, I'm excited for Raheem Morris and the staff. I mean, he can't be any worse than what Arthur Smith had.
I mean, I'm just happy this year I don't got to go every week and be like, I can get Arthur Smith out of here. It just happened so much last season.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? So you got them going far in the playoffs. I mean, you have them winning the division, I'd imagine, at 11-6.
I have them winning the division 11-7. I don't know how far I have them going in the playoffs yet. I think with a home game, they should win one game, but there's always the threat that they got to play a team like Dallas/Philadelphia. That'll worry me a little bit, and even a team like
or Detroit/Green Bay.
Detroit/Green Bay/ Chicago, even the Rams. Like, there's a lot of teams in the NFC. I think the NFC is getting better. So I think it's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have them win a playoff game. Got to see how it unravels, but I do have them winning the division.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Reagan, let's move on to your New Orleans Saints from last year.
Yeah, man.
They have a 7.5 win total this year, down from the 9.5 last year. Some key losses: Michael Thomas, Marcus May, Jameis Winston, Andres Pete, Trey Turner. Some key adds: Chase Young, Willie Gay Jr. Not a lot of addition here. Seems like kicking the can down the road might have caught up to the Saints.
Yeah.
7.5 win total. What do you got?
7-10. I ain't gonna be too crazy with this team, man.
He's off the bandwagon, dude. He's off the bandwagon.
It's gonna freaking hurt so much when they go 11-6 and make the playoffs, and I'm like, a year too early and a year too late, you know. But I don't know. I mean, Carr was good down the stretch, but I mean, the offensive line still has issues. I mean, obviously, it's good that they went out and got Fuaga in the draft. I think he'll make a big impact. He was one of the tackles I liked a lot in the draft at Oregon State. So that's huge, and I know he has guard flexibility too, so we'll see if he bounces around. But I mean, then you got like guys like, Pennington. He didn't really work out, and you don't
Trevor Penning,
yeah, he didn't work out.
Yes, but Ryan Ramczyk looks like he's gonna be out for most of the season, so they got to kick Penning over to right, which is a problem.
His health, that was what I was gonna say, and then obviously Cesar Ruiz really hasn't worked out either. The guy they got from Michigan, so there's just a lot of hit and misses. I mean, they went out and got Lucas Patrick, the guard, so I mean they're trying to plug him in, so hopefully that works, but the line's not better. I mean, like I said earlier, Carr was great down the stretch, but his numbers weren't great. I mean, actually, his numbers are very misleading. I mean, 3,900 passing yards, 25 to 8, you'd be like, all right, he had a pretty good season. But all that production really came, like, a third of those yards and over half those touchdowns came in the last 5 games. He really turned it on in the end when they went 4-1. Because what did we say? They ended at 8-9 last year?
No, they were at or 9-8.
They were 9-8.
9-8 last year, but they also played the easiest schedule in the league last year.
And he didn't turn it on to the end. And they're going to be playing, actually, they have the 31st strength of schedule. So they have one of the easiest schedules again.
Yeah.
So you could be like, well, healthy Carr, really didn't lose a ton, but didn't gain a ton. So they're basically running it back, and you're like, well, if he plays like the last 5 games, it could be interesting. I'm kind of buying into they're going to be very mediocre. Like, they're not going to be one of the worst teams, but they're probably just going to miss the playoffs. I mean, plus, like I was saying, knocking the Falcons and saying it would get better. I mean, they had a plus 11 takeaway to turnover ratio, so I think that will definitely change. I think they'll have more turnovers as an offense this year than takeaways on the defense. So that worries me a little bit. And then the running game was the second worst on the yards per carry outside of the Bucs. I mean, we were talking about Kamara before. He couldn't do anything. I think he only had like 600 rushing yards.
Yeah.
He actually may have had more receiving yards than he did rushing yards.
I think he had like 480. It was close.
It was definitely close. So, I mean, it's just going to be rough. And then obviously, like we said, Fuaga and Patrick are the ads, but they're both going to I believe they're both going to the left side.
Yes. Yeah.
But that'll be, I mean, that's, 2 new variables. So I don't know. It's hard to have faith in this team. And I think Dennis Allen could get fired mid-season, and I mean, he's
whoa.
I mean, it's
calling for a man's job.
Yeah, man. Poor guy will probably have to collect unemployment. Poor guy. But yeah, it's just he's probably got the hottest seat. I mean, he's been there for what? This is year 3 or year 4? He's been there for a while.
I want to say year 3.
Year 3.
I want to say year 3.
I think he had the year with Dalton, Winston, and then last year was year 2. Yeah, so this is year 3. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs this year, I mean, it's hard to keep the guy because then you'd imagine if they miss the playoffs. They're getting rid of Carr. They're getting rid of Allen. They're cleaning house, maybe. And Spencer Rattler's interesting. I mean, I picked him up, threw him in my taxi spot. I mean, I think he's better than his draft status is. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to fall all the way to the 5th round. I thought he'd be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. And I mean, he's a guy that at times when he was at Oklahoma was projected to be the number 1 overall quarterback. Kind of similar to Sam Howell from a couple of years ago, where he high draft praise coming in before he was draft eligible. And by the time he was able to get drafted, I mean, he just kind of fell. And so it'll be interesting, but definitely stash him.
I also have 7 and 10 for the Saints, Reagan.
Wow.
A lot of similar reasons. We already touched on Kamara. Biggest problem, the Saints are spending the most money on the running back position of anyone in the league this year. Yeah. Kamara's cap hit was $8 million last year. It's now 18.6, and then they're also paying Jamal Williams. So all these teams that kick the can down the road, eventually it's going to catch up to you, and we saw that with the Saints this year. They're basically running it back with the same guys they had on offense, which wasn't good. The offensive line looks to be worse because you don't have Ramczyk and a lot of question marks. Derek Carr, his stats look fine, but he was terrible under pressure. And I think he's going to get pressured a lot behind this offensive line this year. So I think the offense is going to regress. The defense is good, though. The defense has finished top 10 in points allowed the last 2 seasons under Dennis Allen. So he's doing his thing with the defensive side. I like that they added Kool-Aid McKinstry in the 2nd round. A little bit of injury concerns, but he was the best man corner from the slot in the SEC last year. And, on the outside in the SEC, not in the slot. He's going to play the outside. So that's a great addition to add to their secondary that's already really good. Lattimore's still good. Paulson Adebo's good. Tyrann Mathieu's still that dude in the back ends. Like, they have a lot of talent back there. I don't love the Chase Young ad at the price point they got him at. I think they overpaid a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that either.
we all saw his lack of effort, like in the playoffs last year. There's always the injury concerns with Chase Young. I don't know. Brian Brzee was solid as a rookie at 4.5 sacks. I like that pick out of Clemson. Nathan Shepard and Kalen Saunders are both good against the run in the interior. Cameron Jordan, clearly on the decline, not the same player, but still that veteran presence, and he's good. Like, I like Demario Davis also. Demario Davis, stud.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's an all-pro guy.
Demario Davis. Well, yeah, he's good in coverage. He had 6.5 sacks. He's just do-it-all kind of guy, and he's 35 years old. It's him and Cam Jordan are the leaders of the defense. So if you like games that don't score a lot of points, I think the Saints are one of your teams to watch this year. Very low-scoring games. Defense will be good. Offense will struggle. Although I do like Olave. He's a stud, averaged 70 yards per game last year, had 5 touchdowns. Raheed Shaheed and Derek Carr had great chemistry last year. Hit him deep a lot, but I don't know. Also, Taysom Hill. I think he's going to be another Swiss Army knife. If you looked last year, they barely used him at the beginning of the year, and then he was really good in the second half of the year in the red zone.
It'll be interesting because it is a new OC. They got Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son. So I'm interested to see how he uses him because obviously different OC. You don't know how he's going to use him. It definitely excites me because, last year that didn't work out. So Olave, I think he could be a top 12 wide receiver for fantasy this year. I mean, I would go target him based off the talent and just hoping that Carr can get back to kind of the form we saw at times with the Raiders, but it'll be interesting. It definitely will be. But Shaheed's a flex-worthy guy, and then Kamara I'm getting, and I'm still stashing the running backs. I mean,
I want no part of Jamal Williams. Maybe a dart throw on Kendre Miller, but he seems to be in the doghouse right now.
You would have to stash Kendre Miller just off of the potential. I mean, if you have
And
deep
the age,
benches
yeah.
and
The other two guys are
dynasty
old.
leagues, best
Yeah.
ball, he's worth the late round pick.
Yeah.
You gotta, because then you'll be pissed at yourself if you didn't. But all right, let's move on.
All right, Reagan. Last but not least, the defending division champs Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an 8.5 win total for the season. Some key losses: Carlton Davis, Ryan Jansen, Shaq Barrett, Devin White. Some significant talent lost there. Key adds: Jordan Whitehead, Ben Bredesen, Randy Gregory. More shopping on the lower end of the aisle. And, when you pay a lot of your own, like we mentioned earlier, this is kind of what happens. So, Reagan, do you see the Bucs repeating as division champs?
No, I don't. I got them going 7-10. I mean, it's teams are gonna adjust, dude. Like, this team was the worst against the run, or they were the worst running team last year. They only averaged 3.4 yards a carry. I mean, I got into it earlier with White. I mean, he's a great fantasy player, but for football, he's not good. He's pure volume, and very efficient. Better receiver than he is a running back. Obviously, Mike Evans will do his thing, and I have faith in Baker Mayfield, but I think it's going to hurt him a lot not having Dave Canales this year. And on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they lost some key pieces, but also they can stop the run. They're one of the best at stopping the run, but they get beat in the passing game. And, they lost Carlton Davis, like you said, and I don't believe in Jordan Whitehead, who they signed. He was on the Jets last year. Outside of that 3-pick game on the opening night against the Bills, he wasn't good. So I think they're going to get exposed on defense because of the fact that they cannot stop the pass. And I think offensively, teams are going to adjust to the fact that they can't run the ball and be like, hey, Rashard White, go beat us. We're not going to let Baker Mayfield dot us up with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So I think that's going to really hurt. I do like the Graham Barton signing. Or I'm sorry, the draft pick of Graham Barton. I mean, I know he played tackle at college, and they're expecting him to fill the void of Ryan Jensen. So I like that a lot. And obviously they had some other good picks. I mean, I'm excited for McMillan and Irving, two guys that one McMillan from Washington, the wide receiver. I think he could be that wide receiver 3 for the team. And then Bucky Irving, I really do think can give White a run for his money and have a chance to steal the job. So excited for those two. And obviously they got Tarik Smith, the safety out of Georgia. And hopefully Braswell can step up the edge out of Bama, right?
Yeah. Yep. I like the draft a lot. I did. I have the Bucs going 8-9.
Okay.
A little bit of regression from last year. They were 1-5 against playoff teams last year, Reagan. They were 8-3 versus non-playoff teams. And in games in which their opponents scored at least 18 points, they were 2-7.
Ooh.
Their offensive line was not good. It's 22nd in pass block win rate, 32nd in run block win rate, according to ESPN. That's not good. Tristan Wirfs is that dude. I mean, he was 7th in pressure rate allowed amongst all tackles. Luke Gedeke, they drafted a couple years ago at right tackle. He was 42nd, so more middle of the pack, but still solid. The interior was the problem. That's why I do like Graham Barton. Last 3 years, he started left tackle for Duke. His true freshman year, he played center, so that's where they like him, but he's got 5-position flexibility, which definitely helps. Baker did have a career year, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, over 4,000 yards, 66% completion rate. Problem was with that, well, first off, you mentioned the Canales loss. Mm-hmm. We saw Geno take a step back last year.
Yeah,
I think
big step back.
I love Baker Mayfield. I think a step back is coming. Also, Sharp went really deep on this. Every stable kind of metric, in the pocket, pressure, everything was terrible except for third down and in the fourth quarter. It's like when the stakes got high, the pressure was on. Baker excelled and was a top 5 quarterback on third down, fourth down, and in the fourth quarter. Which, is he going to be able to do that again? I don't know, because he didn't do it in Cleveland. So I don't know if he's going to be able to do that again. That's why I think the offense is certainly going to take a step back. Even though Mike Evans is going to do his thing. He's going to have 1,000 yards, right? Chris Godwin, 3 straight years, 1,000 yards. He's going to do his thing. Actually, they said with the new offense, I think Godwin's going to move back to the slot. So last year was kind of more of a down year for him. I think he only had 2 touchdowns. He's moving back into the slot, which is where he had his best seasons, which I think Chris Godwin, with his ADP in redraft leagues, I would target him. I think it's a good chance. I mean, and Mike Evans does have a little bit of durability concern, so I would like to snag Chris Godwin late. Ultimately, offense is going to take a step back. The defense lost some talent. Antoine Winfield got paid, rightfully so. 6 forced fumbles, 3 INTs last year. Whitehead's okay. You touched on it. Vita Vea is a stud on the interior, but he gets beat up too. Kalijah Kancey was very good as a rookie. 11 run stuffs, 4 sacks. So I'm fine on the interior. The edge kind of worries me. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka never lived up to his first-round draft status out of Washington. Yaya Diaby, third-round pick last year, led the team with 7.5 sacks, 5th in Defensive Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, it looks like they found a diamond in the rough. Could really help them. Levante David, still an every-down backer, stud. 17 run stuffs last year, really good in coverage. No more Devin White there, a little consistent, but, still, they lost some talent. Jamel Dean's solid at corner, but, I mean, you touched on the draft class. I really like the draft class. I like adding Bucky Irving out of Oregon. I like Jalen McMillan. He had the injury issues, but he does have really good speed, elite speed, actually, really good traits. So I think he could be a really good player for being drafted in the 3rd round. I just don't know if it's going to come together this year for the Bucs. Like every team in this division, they have a relatively easy schedule. But, yeah, I think 8 and 9, they're kind of mid. I think they're just kind of mid. I think Atlanta's better, and I think that Atlanta wins the division. But I have the Bucs finishing 2nd.
Do you have the Bucs making the playoffs at 8 and 9 or now? That's
No. Bucs are not making the playoffs this year.
Gotcha. Just
Not
need
making
to
the
clarify that.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I think with Todd Bowles, they've kind of hit their ceiling. I don't really believe in Todd Bowles, the head coach.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who obviously has had some successful seasons, but we've also seen him with some terrible seasons. I mean, with the Jets and now with the Bucs. I mean, he got him into the playoffs last year, where if they didn't make it, he may have been fired. Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, that's a hot seat right there. If they regress this year and it's like, look, we basically brought back the same roster and had a worse season, he might be fired. I mean, this is the division of hot seats. Obviously, I think Raheem Morris is guaranteed a 2nd year, and I would imagine David Canales is as well. But if the Panthers barely improve with a much more talented team, he could be a one and done. I mean, we've seen teams.
David Tepper's like the worst owner in football, by the way. He's already fired like 6 coaches. He just took over the team.
Be like, fuck it, you're out of here, Canales. But we'll see. But yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna get into the fantasy draft before we wrap it up, like we did last week. This one should be a little more interesting, considering it's not a top-heavy division. It's pretty well-rounded. So this week I'll let you start first. And for those of you who didn't watch, we're both going to take a quarterback. We're both going to take a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end.
Yes.
And then that was it, right? It was just the 5. Yeah. And then we'll have Garrett.
No, and then a defense.
Defense, yes. So it'll be 6 each. We'll have Garrett cook up a cool graphic, and you guys can vote what NFC South team you'd rather have.
I'm going to start. Bijan Robinson. Very easy for me.
Wow, taking Bijan, man.
Big second-year breakout for Bijan. Very easy for me.
All right, well, I will. I'll double down. I mean, we were asked earlier about the keep trade cut, and I said Mike Evans is the best. So I'll take Mike Evans there for my number 1 wide receiver, and then I think I will probably go with the best fantasy quarterback in the division, and I will take Kirk Cousins, a guy that we've seen play at an elite level. So, and especially for fantasy, I mean, he's been a guy that we've seen put up top 5 numbers for fantasy. And also last year, before he got hurt with the Vikings, he was on a crazy pace. I know it was only 3 games, but holy shit, or 4, whatever it was.
You kind of pissed me off. You just took Kirko. So I'm going to go Chris Olave.
Okay.
And I'm going to go Kyle Pitts.
Wow, so getting the tight end premium and taking his team.
I'm getting the tight end, yes, and I'm going to take Chris Olave. So I like where my ball club's at right now.
All right, so I will get Mike Evans a running mate. I'll take Drake London. Pair him with that. I mean, scary.
Yeah, after you just shit on Drake London.
I mean, I was still shitting on him, but he's definitely. I'd still rather him over Deontay, I believe, and I would love this stack. So I'll take the stack there. Then for running back, it gets interesting because it's for fantasy. I was kind of shitting on.
You shit on Rock White, but like
shitting on Rock White. I was shitting on Kamara. You know what? Give me Jonathan Brooks.
No way! You're going Jonathan Brooks. You don't even know if he's healthy to start the year.
You know what? I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk for the upside because the other 2 guys I'm just not really fully buying into. And Jonathan Brooks, like, they spent the capital on him. If he's healthy, he's going to be getting a full workload this year. Even if he's eased into it, I still think towards the end of the year he could have some monster games.
Okay. So I'm going to go. I'm going to take Deontay Johnson as my 2nd wide receiver.
Okay.
For sure.
And you need your quarterback and your defense.
Quarterback and my defense. Defense, give me the Saints. Top 10 in points allowed the previous 2 seasons under Dennis Allen. Give me the Saints defense.
Okay.
And now it's
you. Get 2?
I just took Deontay Johnson and the Saints defense.
Yeah,
so now you get 2.
Defense and my tight end, and I'm done. So the defense, that's interesting because I don't really love any of them left. You know what? I'll go with the Bucs just because The Falcons, I mean, we highlighted it before. They just lost guys, really didn't add anybody. I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. That's why their offense.
I think you have to go Bucs there.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Bucs just because, out of the 3 left, they're the best defense. I'm not really excited for any of them, but they're definitely the best. And then at the tight end, I could go K-Dot. And, I mean, Juwan Johnson, we didn't even talk about it earlier, but he's on the pup to start the year. I mean, I could go Taysom Hill.
I think you have to go Taysom Hill. You have to go Hill.
I already took my shot on one Panther rookie, really buying into the hype. I don't think I could do 2 by getting his teammate. Give me Taysom Hill, man, and then just hopefully Derek Carr gets benched early on, and then I get 2 quarterbacks in my starting fantasy lineup.
Ooh, so Bryce Young or Baker Mayfield or Derek Carr? Which quarterback do I want?
Are you buying in Reagan stock and trusting Bryce Young to be a top 12 quarterback?
That's the thing. I think Derek Carr and Baker both have worse seasons. I think they're in worse situations than they were last year.
Okay, so stack Young with Deontay.
Yeah, but Bryce Young, oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with my boy Baker. I just got to rock with him. That's my dude. I got to rock with Baker Mayfield. I'm going Baker. Even though I think he regresses from last year, I'm still going Baker.
All right, fair enough. All right, guys, well, that wraps it up. I mean, you'll see this graphic on social media. Garrett will cook something up cool. But like we said earlier, we're going to have those golf polos. So if you want to buy one, it's either 1 for $40 or 2 for $70. Great pod this week. Next week.
It was great to be back in the studio with you, brother.
Yeah, but
great to be back in the studio.
We'll be virtual next week because Colin and Dave live in Hoboken, so unless I move out there and they move back here, we're going to stay in that virtual world. And also, we will be doing the AFC South next week.
AFC South. Yep.
Let's go. Bye.